Hello and welcome to the Gooner Talk. We are here for our NHS Premier League quiz. I know that a lot of my mates are watching this right now and are laughing at how I introduce videos, but that's fine. And I'm going to muddle through. So hopefully, thankfully, you are all here to tune in and watch and get involved with the quiz today, which is obviously in aid of raising as much money, however small, however large, for the NHS, who are doing amazing work on the front line of this COVID-19 situation. So if you would like to donate, which is the most important thing, please go in the description of the video, click the link and hit the donate button, because it's just there's not much point doing this and getting involved if we're not going to donate. So please click the button in the description and donate as much as possible. You don't have to just put your name on it. It can be anonymous. It's whatever. But anyone that donates is obviously massive thank you to you. I've seen that some of you have done that already, and I'll be doing some shout outs through the show as we go. So let's kick off and tell you how this is going to work. So the idea is I'm not going to take up a load of your time. This is probably going to last an hour, if that. I've got 5 rounds of 10 questions, all in different styles. So the first round and the last round are going to be general knowledge, Premier League based questions from anything to do with the Premier League, teams, players, clubs, managers, whatever, of the last so ever many years that Premier League's been in existence. I'm not going to tell you how long, because that might be a question that's coming up a little bit later on. But in terms of how you guys can sort of get involved and do this, there's no way of me being able to track your scores. There's no way that I can check if anyone's cheating. The idea of this is for you to test your own knowledge, to see if you can play against your friends and your family at home, the people that you're isolated in, people that you're in group chats, and even boring group chats. Getting involved however you can, and just competing against your friends and being honest about how many points you get. So there's some interesting rounds in the middle, but let's stop the chat and let's get straight into things. I'll do some shout outs through the chat. Thank you ever so much for LJC, who has donated. Thank you, Liam Costello, for being the first comment and also getting involved as well. James Threading, and thank you ever so much for getting involved and donating too. Appreciate it very much. Thank you, Mike, for tuning in. Omar, always in here as well. And plenty of others of you as well. So let's jump into round 1, which is our first general knowledge round, and start off with question 1. Basically, what I'll do is I'll go through the questions, and then afterwards I'll just go through the answers. I won't wait till right at the end to get the answers. I'll do it round by round. So, and if you don't want to see the YouTube comments at the side, you don't have to. You can close them down somehow, or just cover them up, old-fashioned style, if you don't want to see those, because some people might post answers in the comment section. So if you don't want to see the answers in the comment section, then close it down or cover it up. Your choice. So question 1. In which year did the Premier League begin? In which year did the Premier League start? That is your first question. I didn't actually know this, which is quite embarrassing, and I had to Google it, but I found out. So let's see if you guys know this one. In which year did the Premier League start? Question 2. Sir Alex Ferguson spent 26 years at Manchester United, but how many Premier League titles did he win during those 26 years? So Sir Alex Ferguson spent 26 years as Manchester United manager. How many titles did he win? As I say, loads of people posting answers in the comment section. Thank you. I'm going to give you some shout outs towards the end for those that get it right. But obviously, if you don't want to see the answers in the chat box, please cover it up or close it if you're playing at home. Question 3. Name the only person who was born before 1960 who has scored a Premier League hat-trick. One player who was born before 1960 has scored a Premier League hat-trick. Who was it? Name that player. Name that player. Give you a couple of seconds. It's a little bit harder. All of the people spamming the chat with answers. I knew it, but this one has gone a bit quiet. It's got harder very quickly. We ready for question 4? Question 4. Gordon Strachan is one of 4 players to play in the Premier League into their 40s. Can you name the other 3 players? So Gordon Strachan is one of 4 players who made it and got goals, not rather got goals, but got appearances in the Premier League into their 40s. Who are the other three? You can either give yourself a point for all three, or you can give yourself a point for each one that you can name. Can you name the other three players that were over 40 years old that played in the Premier League other than Gordon Strachan? There you go. Question 5. Norwich, Palace, Sunderland, West Bromwich Albion, and Middlesbrough have all got the record for being relegated from the Premier League the most times. Crystal Palace was involved in that. Norwich, Palace, Sunderland, West Brom, and Middlesbrough have got the record for how many times they have been relegated from the Premier League. But how many times was it? How many times had each of those teams been relegated from the Premier League? Norwich, Palace, Sunderland, West Brom, and Middlesbrough. How many times were they relegated from the Premier League? That was question 5 of 10. Question 6. Derby County recorded the lowest Premier League points total. And how many points did they achieve during that season? Derby County recorded the lowest Premier League points total, but how many points was it? So this isn't that hard, Omar. Oh, that hard. I did catch that, James. I did put it on the screen up the pal. We've got a Palace fan here today, unfortunately. But they are one of the teams that holds the record for the most times relegated as a Premier League club. Question 7. Which Premier League ground of the 49 teams that have played, I believe it's still 49 teams, one of the Premier League teams to have played in the Premier League, which ground has existed the longest? So of all of the Premier League teams to have played in their existence, there's over 40 of them, which of their grounds is the longest serving ground to have featured in the Premier League? So it's not which ground has been in the Premier League for longest. Of any team to have featured in the Premier League, which one of those has the longest existing ground? Which one? Which one? Question 8. How many teams started the very first Premier League season? How many? Currently, there are 20 teams in the Premier League, but how many teams started the very first? I won't tell you what year because that was the question number 1. How many teams started the very first Premier League season? How many? That was question 8. Question 9. I hope I'm not going too fast. Please let me know if I am. Question 9. Which goalkeeper has saved the most Premier League penalties? Which goalkeeper has saved the most Premier League penalties? I wish it had been Petr Cech during his time at Arsenal, but it certainly wasn't. In fact, me and Mike, who's in the chat box, witnessed his only Premier League save, Petr Cech, for Arsenal against Watford when Troy Deeney missed it, and we were there. Definitely weren't Petr Cech. Definitely weren't Petr Cech whatsoever. Question 10. Which player has scored the most Premier League goals in injury time? Last question of this round. Which player has scored the most Premier League goals in injury time? That's your last question for round 1. Okay. So I'll do a quick, very, very quick run through of each one. So question 1, in which year did the Premier League start? Question 2, Sir Alex Ferguson spent 26 years at Manchester United. How many Premier League titles did he win? Question 3, name the only person born before 1960 to score a Premier League hat-trick. Question 4, Gordon Strachan is one of 4 Premier League players to play into their 40s. Name the other 3. Question 5, Norwich, Palace, Sunderland, West Brom and Middlesbrough have all been relegated the most times, but how many times was that? Question 6, Derby County recorded the lowest Premier League points total. How many did they record? Question 7, which Premier League ground is the longest serving of the 49 teams to have played? And question 8, how many teams started the very first Premier League season? Question 9, which goalkeeper has saved the most Premier League penalties? And question 10, which player has scored the most Premier League goals in injury time? So there you go. So I'll leave it to you guys. Would you rather I went through the answers for round 1 now or wait to the end? Let me know in the chat box what you would rather do. No, Liam, it was not Mick Costello. He was not the answer for question 5, I believe, question 4. Sorry, mate. That's not the right answer, whoever Mick Costello is. So, Omar says wait to the end. James says end. Georgie says now. Ryan says now. Al Baba says now. Gunners Dead says now. Most of you are saying now. So we'll go for it now then. So before we do though, please make sure if you haven't already, please go in the description and hit the donate button and please help us raise as much money as we can. So question 1. In which year did the Premier League start? The answer was 1992. I'm going to scroll up and try and get some right answers for you guys. People, 1992. If I can actually find the answers for that question. They're disappearing. Okay, so there's so many comments I can't actually scroll out that far, which is irritating. Oh well. So 1992 was the answer for the first year that the Premier League started. So Alex Ferguson spent 26 at Man United. He won 13 titles in his 26 years. So that's one every 2 years. Every 2 years. The only person before 1960 to score a Premier League hat-trick was Gordon Strachan. So the only player, and then the only person before 1960 to score a Premier League hat-trick, the answer was Gordon Strachan. Question 4, Gordon Strachan, who was the answer for question 3, is one of 4 players to play in the Premier League into their 40s. And the answers for that are Teddy Sheringham, Ryan Giggs, and Kevin Phillips. Sit still, says Mark. I can't help it. I'm on a computer chair. It spins round. Unlucky, Ben. Just changed my answer for number 3. Will be fuming if it was originally right. Sorry, Ben. Question 5. Norwich, Palace, Sunderland, West Brom, and Middlesbrough have all been relegated the most times, but how many? The answer was 4. 4 times. Each of them been relegated 4 times. That's Crystal Palace relegated 4 times. Wow, unbelievable. Question 6. Derby County recorded the lowest Premier League points total. How many? The answer was 11. 11 times. 11 times, rather. 11 points is how many they amassed. Question 7. Which Premier League ground is the longest serving? The answer is Turf Moor of Burnley. Turf Moor is the longest continuously used ground in the Premier League. Question 8. How many teams started the very first Premier League season? The answer was 22. 22 teams started in 1992. Question 9. Which goalkeeper has saved the most Premier League penalties? The answer was David James. David James has saved the most Premier League penalties. And question 10, which player has scored the most Premier League goals in injury time? Unfortunately, the answer to this is Jermaine Defoe. Jermaine Defoe scored the most Premier League goals. So, tally up your scores. Let me know in the chat. How many points did you get out of a possible, I believe it was 12, because there was 3 possible answers for number 4. So you could have had 3 answers for that. So, yeah, so 12 possible points were up for grabs in that round. How many did you get? Mike got 0. Ben got 5. Oh, flop from number 5 is what he says. What did you get in total? Omar got 3. Liam says that he'd have Defoe over Thierry Henry purely for his goal-scoring abilities. Ryan got 7. Ben got 5. Sibster got 3. Keep letting me know. And whilst you're doing that, please hit that donate button in the description below. And also, if you are watching this and you want to share this around to as many people, please retweet the tweet that is going live on Twitter. Let as many people know that we're doing this as possible. Okay, round 2. Round 2 is slightly different. What we're going to do for round 2 is that I'm going to show you a picture of a footballer playing in the Premier League, and you have got to tell me who they are. So question 1 is on the screen for you right now. Who is that player? These do get harder. These do get harder as we go through. So that is the first question. Tell me who that player is. I mean, you can see he's a Newcastle player for starters. This doesn't even deserve a point because it's so easy, this one. Exactly. I can see plenty of you in the chat box are getting this one. Question 2. We are ranking up the difficulty, I hope anyway. Who is that? Who is that celebrating having scored a rather important goal? No, Ben, it was not Fabrizio Colaccini. Question 3. Again, please hit that donate button in the description and donate some money to a fantastic cause. Question 4. Everyone remembers the Gerrard slip, but who was it that nicked the ball from him? Question 5. Oh, who is that? It's not Filippo Inzaghi, for anyone asking that. It is not Filippo Inzaghi. Question 6. So these do get slightly harder. Who is that? Question 7. There's actually a bit of a clue in the background for that one. Question 8. Question 9. I had to throw this on in because my other half is a Charlton fan. And I would have got in trouble if I had not have thrown one Charlton player into this. So who is that Charlton player? Bit of a tough one, that. Last one's probably the toughest, although I have a feeling that if my mate Ben does not get this, I'll be disappointed. And finally, question 10. No, that's not the NHS. It is, in fact, Premier League footballer. Okay, so let's go through these one more time and give you the answers as we do. So question 1, who was this? This was clearly the easiest one, and the answer is Alan Shearer. I mean, that was, if you didn't get that one, I mean, what are you even doing here? Question 1 was Alan Shearer. Next one was Sergio Aguero, was that one. Question 3. This one, I saw a lot of people saying Cantona, but it is in fact David Beckham. But I do remember a very famous Cantona celebration that was very similar to that. And everyone remembers the Gerrard slip, but who was the guy that took the ball away from Steven Gerrard? And the answer was Demba Ba, which I could not find a still photo of, surprisingly enough. Question 5, who was this famous Swansea player that took the league by storm during the couple of years that he was there? And that was Michu. How many of you got that one right? Someone recognised the fact that it wasn't Cantona because Cantona has a bigger chest, apparently, says Kay Brennan. Recognising footballers by the size of their chest. Brilliant. Question 6. This was Christian Benteke during his fantastic season with Aston Villa. Question 7. Who scored this very famous Arsenal goal? It was not Dennis Bergkamp, although he has a statue that looks very much like that in that pose. It was Mr. Arsenal himself, Tony Adams. I'm hoping that Ryan, Mr. Arsenal podcast, I hope you got that right, mate. Question 8. He no longer plays for Southampton because he scored so many fantastic goals there. He got a big move to Liverpool, and it is Sadio Mane. Question 9, the Charlton player. I mean, Georgia didn't even get this right, in fairness, first time. She got it wrong. She got it right the second time. She had to have a couple of stabs, though, and that is Paolo Di Canio. Mostly known for his time at West Ham rather than Charlton, but he did play there. And last one, Ben, I'm hoping you got this one right. Please let me know if you did. Last one, playing for Bolton, Swedish striker, Elmander. That was probably the biggest and the most tricky one right at the end there. Remembering old Johan Elmander. So there you go. That is round 2. Let me know in the chat box how many of you managed to get out of 10. Ryan got 9. Well done. Drake got 8. Liam, well done. You got 8. Well done. Good stuff. How many did we get? My dad got 4. My mum got 2. That's unbelievable. That's dreadful. I'm actually disappointed. How am I related? James got 7. Tucky got 8. Omar got 8. Ben got 7. Ben, did you get Almander? Let me know. Omar got 8. Mike somehow managed 11. That's incredibly impressive. Sipster got 7. Russ got 7. John, nice to have you in here, John. Thank you very much for tuning in, mate. 6. Omar got 8. Kay got 6. Tebow got 6. Sipster got 7. Thank you ever so much for those that have been donating. Really, really appreciate everyone that has been donating so far. If you have not already, we've raised £98 so far. Thank you ever so much. Those of you that have donated. We were only on 30 when this started, so it's 68 quid that's dropped in over the course of the show. Keep on donating if you have not already. Thank you ever so much. Goodness sake. Moving on then to round 3. So round 3 is a little bit more tricky because it's called Of the Year. Now, I was planning on doing this slightly differently because of time. I changed my mind. And what I would like you to do is, if you're writing this on pen and paper, you're going to have to write your numbers 1 to 10 going back in seasons from last season. So 18-19 back down to 10 or 09-10. Okay, so you're going to have one answer for every one of the last 10 full seasons. 18-19, 17-18, 16-17, carrying on all the way down to 09-10. And your job is to tell me in each of those last 10 Premier League seasons, who are the 10 Golden Boot winners from those 10 seasons. So you've got obviously 10. I'll tell you that there are 10 different players. Now, some of them obviously got the award in more than one season, and there are some seasons in which there was more than one winner because they were joint in how they won. Now, you can score yourselves in terms of if you get the players' names, you can give yourself a mark out of 10 if you got one of the names, as many as you can name. And if you get them in the right season, you can give yourself a bonus point. Okay? Mike, can you please stop? For goodness sake. Oh, dear. So, starting with 2018-19, the last season just gone, all the way back to 2009 to 2010. Can you name the 10 different Golden Boot winners? If you can get them in their right seasons, you can give yourself an extra mark. I'm seeing lots of people suggesting different players in the chat. James reckons that Shamak was in the top 10 during 2013-14. It's not right. That's definitely not one of them. Sorry, mate. Okay, let's go back through from the most recent year back to 09-10 to see if you guys can give you some extra time. So, You're getting a mark for the player if you said them, and you're getting a mark if you put them in the right season. So in 2018-19, it was a three-way tie. Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, Sadio Mane, and Mohamed Salah all scored 22 league goals that year. And so they shared it. So if you said any of those three, give yourself a mark for each. And if you put them all in 2018-19, give yourself another mark. In 2017-18, Salah scored 10 more goals than he did last year on 32. So if you've already said Salah, you would have got a mark for that. But if you've also put in for 2017-18, give yourself another mark. 2016-17, certain Harry Kane got 29 goals. And he also did it the season before that as well in 2015-16 with 25 goals. So Kane in 2016-17 and 2015-16, 29 and 25. In 2014-15, Aguero got 26 goals. So if you've got Aguero, give yourself a mark. 2013-14, Luis Suarez, during that amazing Liverpool season in which they failed to win the Premier League, scored 31 goals. And then in 2011 and 2012, and 2012 and 2013, Robin Van Persie for Arsenal scored 26 goals in 2012-13, and 11-12 he scored 30 goals. And in 2010-11, it was another joint. So the last time it was a joint winner, other than last year, was back in 2010-2011 when Carlos Tevez and Berbatov got 20 goals each to get the Golden Boot. And then in 2009, 2010, a certain Didier Drogba scored 29 goals during the 2009-2010 season. So you should have got a mark. You could have got a possible 10 marks for each season, and then you could have got a possible 10 marks for each of the different scorers. So out of 20, how many marks did people get in the end? Drogba in there definitely was. Salah's won the season. Sibster reckon that 18-19 Alba Salamane, 17-18 Salah, 16-17 Kane, Costa 14-15, that was Aguero, and 11-12 was Van Persie. So you definitely got that one right. So you got a fair few marks in there, mate. So how many marks out of 20? Ryan managed to get 20 out of 20. I think someone's been doing some swatting up. Omar only managed 4. But that's fairly decent. Liam managed 11. Good stuff. Seems like you got a lot. Tebow managed to get Tevez as one of that. Was one of the more left field shouts. Ben got 13. Good stuff. Plenty of different score lines. The only numbers that I want to see going up are your donations into that. So please click that link in the description to donate and help an exceptionally good cause. Okay. The fourth? Yes, fourth round. 4 of 5. We've been going for about half an hour now. So we got, I said just under an hour. Probably be here for about 45 minutes. Round 4 is the head-to-head rounds. Now, what for this is I'm going to show you 2 Premier League footballers on the screen, and your job is to tell me which of the 2 scored more Premier League goals. Put some cult heroes in here for this one. I'm going to start it off nice and easy, though. Mohamed Salah and Sadio Mane. Which of those 2 has scored more Premier League goals? Who scored more? Question 2. Darren Bent and Olivier Giroud. Who has scored more Premier League goals of those 2? For all of their clubs, I should say. It's not just for the ones that you can see on the screen. All of their clubs. Who has scored more goals? You can get an extra mark if you can name how many goals, or if you can say how many goals they scored. Which is quite tough, in fairness. But Darren Bent, Olivier Giroud, who has scored more? Who has scored more goals? Question 3, Robert Pires or Kevin De Bruyne? Who has scored more goals in the Premier League? Robert Pires or Kevin De Bruyne? Oh, a lot of people are saying Giroud for that one. A couple of bents. Question 4, moving on swiftly. A couple of Chelsea, I won't say failures, but just sort of, well, yeah, failures. Gonzalo Higuain and Shevchenko, even though Higuain was only there for 6 months, maybe even less. But who scored more goals? Higuain or Shevchenko? This one could be a bit of a risky one, this one. Who scored more Premier League goals? David Dunn or Roy Keane? Who scored more goals? David Dunn or Roy Keane? Next one. Getting tougher. Victor Wanyama or Steven Nzonzi? Which of these two players has scored more Premier League goals? Remember, you're going to get an extra mark if you can tell me how many. It's worth going for a guess. Next one. Peter Crouch or Ruud van Nistelrooy? Who has scored more Premier League goals? Peter Crouch or Ruud van Nistelrooy? Number 8. Mikel Arteta or Tim Cahill? Who has scored more Premier League goals? Mikel Arteta or Tim Cahill? Peter Crouch has got the record, I believe, for the most headed goals, but did he score more Premier League goals than Ruud van Nistelrooy? And Arteta and Cahill, both Everton, ex-Everton players. Who scored more, Arteta or Cahill? Question 9. I put this in here for a very good mate. Luka Modric or Nico Kranjčar? 2 Croatians, but who scored more Premier League goals? Luka Modric or Nico Kranjčar? That was number 9. Last one. Juan Mata or Cesc Fabregas? Which of these 2 Spaniards has scored more Premier League goals? Juan Mata or Cesc Fabregas? Let me know in the chat box who we're thinking. I'm seeing a lot of support for Cesc at the moment. Seeing a lot of support for Kranjčar as well and Cahill. But did you get the question right? Well, let's find out. So, Sadio Mane or Mohamed Salah? Well, I can tell you that Salah scored 72 Premier League goals for both Chelsea, where he got 2, and 70 so far for Liverpool. And Mane got 80. So that's for Southampton and for Liverpool. Mane has 80 goals, 8 more than his Egyptian compatriot. Number 2, Darren Bent and Olivier Giroud. Well, Darren Bent has 106 Premier League goals, and Olivier Giroud for both Arsenal and Chelsea has 80. So Darren Bent considerably 26 more goals than the Frenchman. Number 3, Robert Pires or Kevin De Bruyne. Well, Robert Pires has 62 goals and De Bruyne has 58. So by 4, Pires takes that one. Question 4. Higuain has just the 5 goals, meaning that it was quite easy for Shevchenko to nearly double his total with 9. So Shevchenko ended up scoring more Premier League goals than Gonzalo Higuain. Question 5, bit of a tough one this. David Dunn scored 37 goals during his time in the Prem for Birmingham and Blackburn, and I'm trying to think of another. It might have just been those 2. And Roy Keane got 39. So 2 more goals for the Irishman over David Dunn. Question 6. Victor Wanyama scored 10 goals during his time in the Premier League, and Steven Nzonzi scored 11. Just the one more for the Frenchman. But the Kenyan only got 10 goals during his time in the Premier League, and Nzonzi got 11. Crouch scored 108 goals compared to Ruud van Nistelrooy's 95. So 13 more goals for the English robot compared to Ruud van Nistelrooy. Probably due to his longevity in the league more than anything else. Question 8. Mikel Arteta finished his total in the Prem with 41, and Tim Cahill got 56 goals. Question 9. Luka Modric only scored 13 goals, and Nico Cranchar ended on 20. I was surprised how low both of those were, to be honest, but Cranchar takes it with 20. Modric only got 13. And question 10, Juan Mata and Cesc Fabregas. Fabregas had 50 goals, and Juan Mata has 51. So there you go. So there you have it, all of those. Scott, I was quite a few surprised in there, actually. I was surprised that Juan Mata would score more than Fabregas, just the one more, but I'm surprised that you managed to get the one more. Crouch, you get more than Van Nistelrooy, but let me know in the comment section how many did you get right as we head into our final round. 8 out of 10 was Liam. Gunnar Dreg got 6. Tucky got 7. Sibster got 6. Danny got 8. That's pretty good, Danny. Well done. Ben got 8. Russ got 7. Some decent scores in this round, to be fair. Omar got 6. Sibster got 6. Ryan got 7. Good stuff as we head into our 5th and final round. Wow, we're going to get this done pretty darn quick, and you can enjoy the rest of your evening after making a little bit of money for the NHS. So round 5, as I said at the start, is back to our general knowledge. So I hope that you're ready for that. Question 1 of round 5 and the 5th and final round is, which team holds the record for the longest unbeaten home run in the Premier League? You can have an extra mark if you can tell me how many games they went unbeaten at home. So which Premier League team holds the longest unbeaten home record? Which one? Which team? Question 2. Andy Carroll was bought by Liverpool for £35 million, becoming Liverpool's most expensive ever signing. But who held that title of Liverpool's most expensive signing before Carroll signed? And you can have an extra mark if you can tell me how much he signed for. So Andy Carroll was bought by Liverpool for £35 million from Newcastle, but who was their record signing before Carroll signed? Who was it? And if you can tell me how much for, you can have an extra mark. Question 3. Spurs, hold a Premier League record of 32 games, which they achieved in 2019. But what was that record for? Tottenham Hotspur have a record of 32 games of something, but what was it? What was that record? And they achieved it in 2019. Oh, some really good guesses in the chat. Interesting. Question 4. Which team was the first to fail to win any Premier League away games in a single season? Which team failed to win, or was the first team to fail to win a single Premier League away game during an entire season? Question 5. Which club could be described as dreaming dreams, scheming schemes, and building their castles high? Bit of a tough one, that, if you don't know, obviously. Which team could you describe as dreaming dreams, scheming schemes, and building their castles high? Now, the answers that are going on in the chat make me feel like I've got the wrong answer for this, but interesting. Maybe you'll be able to tell me that I'm wrong a little bit later on. Question 6. Which player scored 3 Premier League hat-tricks, all for different clubs? And he's the only person to have done this, which player has scored 3 Premier League hat-tricks, all of which were for different clubs? Question 7. 4 more to go. Which player scored 10 hat-tricks and 1 5-goal effort during his Premier League tenure? Which Premier League player ended his career on 10 Premier League hat-tricks and 1 5-goaler? What would you call that? What's it called when you get 5 goals? 2.5 braces? Question 8. Which team did Arsenal play against in their final league game at Highbury? Which team did Arsenal play against in their final league game at Highbury? I tell you, the answers that are coming in for question 7 are making me feel maybe I actually am right for question 5, because some of your knowledge is dire. That was a really easy one, question 7. Question 8, though. Which team did Arsenal play against in their final game at Highbury? A lot of Arsenal fans in the chat should know that. Although some of them are spelling it wrong somehow. Question 9. Which country has provided the most Premier League players outside of England? So which country has provided, through transfers, players to the Premier League outside of England? So which other country other than England has provided players for the Premier League? Which one? And the 10th and final question of our quiz. 3 players share the record for the most own goals ever in the Premier League. Richard Dunn and Frank Sinclair are 2 of them, but who is the other? So 3 players have the record for the most own goals in the Premier League ever. Richard Dunn and Frank Sinclair are 2 of them, but who is the other one? So there you go. That is all of the questions. Hello. Oh, get your,
I'm doing it to get more money.
Get your Charlton shirt out. What are you doing to get more money? It's a dare. Wow. I thought you were going to do something else to try and get more money. Anyway, question. Last round, answers. So, number 1, which team has the longest unbeaten home record? And the answer is Chelsea with 86. 86 games they went unbeaten at home. Liam says, I have to tell you that you've got amazing banter. That's what Liam says. I'll leave that on the screen. Question 2. Andy Carroll was bought for £35 million, becoming Liverpool's most expensive signing. But signing just mere hours earlier, Luis Suarez became their record signing at £23 million until a few hours later, where Andy Carroll was signed for £35 million. Question 3. Spurs holds a Premier League record of 32 games, achieving 29, foregoing the most games without drawing in 2019. A bit of a roller coaster of a season. Question 4. Which team was the first to fail to win any Premier League away games? The answer was Leeds. Leeds were the first Premier League team to fail to win any away games during a single season. Question 5, which club is dreaming dreams, scheming schemes, and building castles high? Now, a lot of people in the chat said Derby, which makes me want to think I've got the answer wrong for this, but from when researching it, now they've got it as West Ham as the first line of the Forever Blowing Bubbles theme is what was on the website I used to come up with some of these questions. So if you got that, and if you think it was Derby, then let me know why, because many people said Derby. But apparently it's the first lines to Forever Blowing Bubbles. So let me know. Unless people thought it was for away wins. Oh, it might be for away wins that people thought it was Derby. Fair enough. Number 6. Which player scored 3 Premier League hat-tricks, all at different clubs? The answer was Nicholas Anelka managed to do that. He scored a hat-trick at 3 different clubs during his time in the Premier League. Question 7, which player scored 10 hat-tricks and 1 5-goal effort? Now, the amount of people that said other names than the very obvious Alan Shearer was surprising. So there you go. Alan Shearer scored 10 hat-tricks, 9 of them being at Blackburn, 1 of them being at Newcastle, and he got 1 5-goal effort as well. Question 8. Which team did Arsenal play against in their final game at Highbury? If any Arsenal fan here got this wrong, they could leave because the answer was Wigan. Wigan, where we had to end up getting an amazing... We had to rely on West Ham to beat Spurs to achieve Champions League status that season, in which we had our final year at Highbury. I believe Yossi Benayoun may have scored for West Ham that day. Question 9. Which country has provided the most Premier League players outside of England? This was a bit of an easy one because the answer was France. None of the home nations, the answer was France for that one. France has provided the most Premier League players. And finally, question 10. 3 players share the record for the most own goals. Richard Dunn, Frank Sinclair, and Jamie Carragher. Jamie Carragher was the last one of those 3 who holds the record for the most Premier League own goals. So there you go. Thank you ever so much for tuning in. If you have not already done so, please donate. If you've been watching on playback and you've been sitting there playing along, watching it back and not playing it live, thank you ever so much for tuning in as well. And please make sure you hit that donate button in the description. Let me just do a quick refresh and see how much we've raised so far. It is £108. We went over the £100 mark, which is great. So thank you ever so much. It's the most I've raised for anything on my own. So that's a record in itself. Thank you ever so much to everyone. Let me just give a shout out to those people that have donated. Luke, thank you so much, Luke. My mum donated some money. Someone who is anonymous and preferred not to be known donated £25. Thank you to you. Danny, thank you ever so much, Danny. James, Threads, thank you ever so much, myself. Which does that count? And another anonymous source, which I believe may have been Ben, donated as well. So thank you ever so much, everyone that has donated. Really, really appreciate it. I'd love to know in the comment section below how many marks you managed to get in total. And I hope that you were the one that won. If you're the one that won, congratulations to you. I think my dad probably won that game out of my parents. It's probably fair to say. But thank you ever so much for tuning in. We will see you again very soon on the show for some shows on Monday. We are going to be having a chat with Alan Smith, the ex-Arsenal striker. We've been doing a TGT Top 5 show in which I chatted to a load of the podcast regulars about their top 5 Arsenal moments in certain categories. We looked at Patrick Vieira's goals. We looked at the best pre and post 2000 games. And on Monday, I'm going to be chatting to Alan Smith about his top 5 Arsenal matches. So that should be fun. So please make sure you hit that subscribe button. And smash that like button if you have enjoyed today's video. But please make sure you tune in on Monday and donate some money. I'm going to leave the link in the description on Monday. Let's hope that we can get some more donations throughout the week. But thank you ever so much, people. I will see you again very soon. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Stay safe, stay healthy. And as always, up the Arsenal.